From the back roads and courthouse steps of small-town South Carolina to the late-night studio where the mics never sleep, this is where decisions, rumors, and real stories collide. You're tuned in to the Pot Stirrer Podcast with Jazzy Jeff. Real talk, local issues, no fluff.
Well, I hope you're ready for the truth, everybody, because this show has taken a major turn this evening here. We had a show already laid out, ready to go for you, but there has been some breaking developments that we think we need to get to the direct of what's going on. And I'm going to explain all of that coming up here in just a second. There was a meeting this afternoon of the Budget, Finance, and Administration Committee in Oconee County, and there has been some interesting developments within that meeting, and we're going to hear coming up in just a few moments. Stuart Jones, the county administrator in that meeting, and I'll just go ahead and tell you, the fraud word has been launched in this Budget, Finance, and Administration Committee meeting that happened earlier this afternoon at the council chambers, and you will hear directly from Matt Durham's mouth coming up in just a few moments. We'll get right to that here. So we do have a little bit of breaking news. But before we get into that, and I'll set that up, I do want to make mention a couple of other things that are happening right now in Oconee County. If you went through Walhalla, you know Walhalla's a little bit busy right now. The man accused of shooting and nearly killing Oconee County Corporal Lucas Watts is now on trial. Of course, Gregory Maxwell is facing multiple charges, including 5 counts of attempted murder. And after a November 2023 traffic stop that we all remember so well, like it happened yesterday, that turned into one of the most serious law enforcement incidents here in Oconee County that we've actually seen in many years. Deputies say Maxwell was pulled over for driving an unregistered vehicle, and after nearly an hour of questioning about his identity, authorities say Maxwell sped away, and what followed was a violent confrontation that left Corporal Watts critically injured after being shot. And at the time, Watts was just 27 years old, the father of a baby who was only 6 weeks old. And of course, the good news is that Corporal Watts is doing so much better. And that's just a testament of the prayer and things that are happening. But again, Maxwell reportedly today sat silent in court with legal pads and a Bible in front of him. Officials have said he identifies as a sovereign citizen. We've seen all of those. If you've ever watched those on Facebook, they're there. A belief system where individuals claim U.S. laws do not apply to them. And of course, Maxwell is representing himself in court. Of course, 2 evaluations found him competent to stand trial, and jury selection began today before Judge Lawton McIntosh. And this is one of those cases that still weighs heavily here on Oconee County, as a deputy nearly lost his life. A young family world was turned upside down, and now the courtroom processes begin. And again, this is probably one of the biggest trials that we've had here in Oconee County in quite some time, by the way. All right, if you're just tuning in, I want to thank you. One more item I want to mention, and a lot of folks reached out to me for this one. Over the weekend, Saturday up in Walhalla wasn't a good time for the Jeepfest. I had many folks reach out to me about people tried to come the day of the registry or come to Jeepfest that Saturday, saying they wanted to enter their Jeeps but were turned away because registration had already closed. Now, from what we're gathering from participants, you had to pre-register online by the date before the event. No same-day registration. And honestly, let me be honest, this makes no sense for this kind of event. For example, I have been with Donnie Big and White, with Jeepfest, the cruise-ins, and to do that at the day of, we always allow people to come in. You register for the day of. And again, Jeep shows, cruise-in, community events, Donnie, I've been there a part of them, requiring online-only registration and cutting it off before the events even starts may look organized on paper, but in real reality, it didn't work. And it made quite a few Jeepers that were pretty upset when they came to coming and they wanted to bring their car or their Jeep, they were told they could bring it, but they wouldn't be registered. So again, we're going to find out more about that because again, there's got to be more to this story. But the outside looking in, this sounds like a decision made by someone who may not fully understand how all these events work. Walhalla did have or had a good thing, I'll say that, but the community event should make it easy for people to participate and not put up roadblocks before you even get parked. And again, by the way, just to let you know, Seneca has Jeep Fest coming up in September, and you can go to Seneca Jeep Fest to find out more about that. And again, Caden checks in. It was a complete chit show. I've been to plenty of Jeep shows and registered for the day of. Never have I ever been told I can't register the day of. And you're right. I mean, if you come to Seneca, no problem. You just come on in the day of and you're there, you park and enjoy a great time. And there's a lot of camaraderie amongst Jeepers and car show enthusiasts if you go to the classic cars and stuff like this. So again, I completely understand. Mike, good evening to you. Thank you for watching the Pod Stir this evening. Now, here comes the breaking news. A little bit earlier today, the Budget, Finance, and Administration Committee in Oconee County had their little meeting today. And the own topic for discussion, of course, was the 26-27 budget discussion and review. And there's a couple of things that you really need to pay particular attention to as we get into this. And Stuart Jones, the new county administrator, is going to break down something for you that, well, is going to be, how do I describe it? Brace yourself. The fraud word is issued in this video here. And I'm going to we're going to have a little commentary in between. A couple of things I want you to pay particular your attention for when they start talking about this. I have said this on this show, 2014. That is the year you need to remember, 2014. Okay? But you need to understand who was the county administrator in 2014. I'll give you the answer here in a little bit, but remember the date, 2014. And then listen to what Stuart Jones has to say going forward. So what we're going to do right now is bring up on the screen, this is the meeting from Oconee County. This is the Budget 27 workshop that was held just a little while ago. And pay particularly attention for the first 10 to 15 minutes because, my friends, it is a doozy. And we'll come back with some comments in between. Let's go to that now.
To Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Council, thank you for being here today. And we're going to go through a lot here in our budget presentation overview. Some of the key points I want to touch on: goals and accomplishments, financial challenges that we have faced, budget summary and projections, and considerations and discussion. So our goals with this budget has been to, number one, provide a balanced budget, financial clarity, projections based on market data and trends, restore best practices, and rebuild a healthy county fund balance. Some of our accomplishments, and I want to thank, while we got them in the room here at the moment, so we got Kevin Robinson, who's our assessor and soon to be financial director. He's done an incredible job stepping up and bringing a lot of his skills from the assessor's office, but also to help us with all the financial difficulties that we faced here. So he's doing a great job. We got Sally Lowry back here, who is technically a finance auditor in our finance department. Sally is my go-to person, though, for any question I have in the budget or anything that we've done in the county. Sally can find me that data, that information. And Amber Turner actually recently came back over to our finance department. Amber's doing an incredible job. She used to be in our finance department. She was in procurement for a while, and but she is back with us over there. And so she actually has helped in the past with assembling the budget books and the whole process. And so these are some key people that I brought back in. One of the things, as we've been going through this with personnel changes internally, we've been looking at strengths and weaknesses, and I've been trying to assemble that dream team, those best people with those best skills to come in and help us. And so that's what we're doing. communication, as we've talked about before, there were some time ago, there were silos in this county, where departments weren't talking, people across the hall were not talking to each other. I think we've broken that down, at this point, because we've had finance meetings on a whole scale, on different levels. We've got this team in the finance department, but then we've also had meetings with, our treasurer, our auditor, all of those other key offices to ensure that what we're doing is going to implement sound policy moving forward. As you know, the audits that we've done recently have just been tremendous. They've helped with a lot of insight as we go into the FY27 budget. The CKH group audit, our external audit, brought up a number of key points. I'm going to kind of touch on some of those today as I'm going through as well. And then also we have had an internal audit going on as well. So we've got some pieces of that, some more information is going to come out about that soon. Policies and procedures, putting best practices in place in all of our offices. We're currently in Deputy Administrator Phil Shirley over here has been helping with our SOPs. A lot of our offices, just to say this, didn't have policies and procedures in place. And some that did, the last time they had been updated was 2012, 2014, it was over a decade ago. So we are going through that right now and putting better policy.
Okay, I want to stop right there and bring something to your attention. Stuart Jones just said, and I quote, that a lot of the policies and procedures had not been updated since 2012 and 2014. Okay? Just remember 2014, 2012, and remember who was the county administrator. Just remember that, because that's going to come back to be very important here in the next few minutes of where and what Stuart Jones says. Get ready.
And procedures in place. Efficiencies and cost savings. The insurance has been a major undertaking, to say the least. I mean, everything that's gone on with that. We're going to see long-term savings from that. And I'm going to talk about that some more in a minute. And then assessments and restructuring internally. So some of our financial challenges, as you're aware, the deficit spending has become a problem. But if we go back and we look at why that became a problem, county council, and if you look at your budget book from 26, FY26, the numbers, you got numbers in there that aren't real numbers. They say actual, but they're not actual. So the actuals weren't actual, if that makes sense. Part of what we've been doing is trying to, and what's taking a lot of time, we've got to continue, we've got to get our budget passed, number one, and we got to keep doing more. I've said that a couple times though, because the point of that is we're trying to get so much done as fast as we can, address so many of these issues, because it's hard to make financial long-term decisions if you don't have real information. So that's what we're trying to do. As I mentioned, setting that new policies, procedures, and best practices, Amber specifically has helped tremendously with the reconciliation process. Council knows that the reconciliation was not done. I believe it stopped in July of 2025. It has been a task to try to get that current and get that caught up. Amber is also helping us with that tremendously. And then going back, communication. I know I've had some feedback from council members on the budget workshops that we've had. This year, we've looked at a whole new way of doing what we're doing here in Oconee County when we do our budget process in local government. In the past, I know there were closed-door meetings. Former administration would meet with those department heads. I've had meetings with those department heads as well. But I think it's critical that those departments come to council and present public cases. They come to the public and say, this is what we need. This is our plans long-term. This is what's going on in our department. It raises a lot of good information, and I'll touch on some of that in a minute too. So one of our major concerns, I want to just start off with this. Council has, everybody up there should have one of these. And if you take a look at this, you can unfold it there. You can see the actual cost of our health care in Oconee County, of health insurance in Oconee County for our employees. The reason this is such a critical thing, and if you look at that screen there, you can see that is a budget, our FY 26-27 budget. What we've done there is we've showed you what council actually was seeing on that health insurance line item. The sheriff's office is one of our biggest departments, of course, and it's the biggest department. And so I wanted to just show you the effect, you know, and when I say the council wasn't seeing actual numbers, this is what I'm talking about. You look back let's look at FY 2025 on there, for example. In 2026, council was seeing a $1 million and a $1.1 million number for health insurance, for the cost of health insurance for that department. But in actuality, when FY 26 is over, for example, we will have spent over $2.2 million for health insurance in that one department.
Let's stop it right there for just a minute. Did you all catch that? So in the budget, it was showed 1 million, 1.1, but in reality, it's over 2. Keep listening because it gets better. It really gets better. I promise you, folks, this is well worth your time to just keep listening because it is coming just around the corner. It is almost here.
That skews our numbers. Yes, sir.
So I just want to say this, so everybody understands. We sit up here and get ready to pass a budget, and we look at past numbers and actuals. The numbers we was given was false numbers when you pull out the true actuals. So at fiscal year 25, we was told the actual is $1 million or over. The true actual was $1 million greater than that, $2 million.
All right, you just heard Matt Durham say exactly what I just said. They were given false numbers. Our current county council members were given false numbers on the budget. You heard that.
The year prior, we was told the actuals, this is for one department. We was told actuals to prepare budget was $1,050,000. It was actually nearly 1.8 million. So we're passing budgets that honestly meant nothing because the data we was given was incorrect.
The data we were given was incorrect. You heard that, right? The data we were given was incorrect. Now, we all know who the administrator was last year. Oh, it gets better. We're not done yet. Just hold on to your seats, boys and girls, because the sermon's coming early tonight.
Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. And you can look through every department on here that we've got for the actual amount.
So that's how a multi-million-dollar, just the insurance alone, was hidden from council and the public. Right? Was line by line, it was so sure one number, but wasn't true.
We were budgeting, and just to touch on that, Mr. Chairman, in FY 26, and I'm going to use that one because it's just through the roof in FY 26. We're at 10 estimated because we've still got basically till the end of June, but $10.3 million. And we budgeted, I believe, $5.4 million for health insurance. Now, those numbers, where was that coming from? It was coming from other areas of the budget. There's other departments that funding was coming from, and so it's hidden in there, okay? We want to get real cost on here. When council sees, and one of the reasons I wanted you to see this too, was because if I show you that our health insurance is going to 1.669 million or 665 million versus the previous year that was 1.1 million, we're all saying our health insurance cost is going up. But that's not the true story. That's not really what's happening here. So this sheet has a lot of great information. It shows you kind of where we went completely just through the roof with our health insurance costs. In all reality, we've traced it back to around 2014 where that started to go in the red, $250,000.
Did you hear that? 2014 is where, now let me get back on camera here because I want everybody to look at my face here. 2014. Get your little computers out, get your Googles out, and find out who the county administrator was in 2014. Ding, 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 ding. He's the current administrator for a city in Oconee County. Ding, 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 ding. Do you know who he is? You should. But this goes back to 2014. And again, Stuart Jones a couple of weeks ago has already alluded to this. In an interview he did with Matt Durham, he alluded that this is where it came from. We're just getting to the scope now. In reality, the insurance was like $10 million, but we only budgeted $5 million. Oh, hey, hold on. It gets better. We're not even nowhere near you. We're getting to the close of what you're going to hear. But my friends, 2014, this has been going on since 2014. And even my dog is upset about it. I hear Uma in the background. She's barking. She's really upset. Let's go back and listen.
With the health insurance.
Was it the same practice going back to 2014 of masking it and hiding it?
That, for the most part, yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. There was maybe 1 year after, or 2 years after 2014, where it leveled out, it equalized, so it was neutral. But yeah, it was masked in other ways as well.
Ding, 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 ding. I need a button in here or something just to sound the alarms. 2014. Go Google it. Go find out who your county administrator was in 2014. That's going to tell you all you need to know.
And I don't know why that was done that way, but I know how we can fix it. So that's got some great information for you to take with you on this as we go forward. Let's see here. Go to our next slide.
Mr. Jones, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do we know, you're pointing out just one department. Do we know, have you been able to put together a list of, and know how many departments that were in that same situation if we were looking at numbers that weren't correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mize.
Just a total number, I mean.
Yes, yeah, it was across the entire county. Yeah, it was every department in county government. And that sheet, if you fold it out there, you can see all of those departments there and the associated cost with it. It was across the board. So
basically we were looking at a shell game. That's what it was.
you were looking at a shell game. Council was seeing, and as a former county council member, you know.
Okay, hold on here. I have to stop this for just a second. A shell game. Oh, my camera's all messed up. Let's see. There we go. A shell game. You believe in that? An actual shell game was going on. Imagine that, my friends. Holy cow. Mr. Mize, good job there. A shell game. Wow, it gets better. We're just warming up here, folks. Just stick around.
Internally, and you should be confident that those numbers are as close to factual and actual as possible, you know, if not right on the money. And so I realize there's estimations and this kind of thing, but this is when you got over $1 million difference, that's not just an estimation issue. They're cooking the books.
Let's do it. So at what point does this become criminal? Right? I mean, you cook.
Did Matt Durham just say criminal? Cooking the books? No. Say it ain't so. We're not cooking bacon in Oconee County government. 2014, cooking the books. A shell game. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. I feel like I'm the devil in the phone booth calling 911. I can't even fathom what I'm hearing. Because the problem is, I kind of knew this was been going on all along. And it's just like, it's a breath of fresh air that it's like a moment that I said, I told you so. I knew this was going on. As Forrest Gump used to say, I'm not a very smart man, but I know a bullshitter artist when I see one. And let me tell you, what's happened here goes back again to 2014. I hate to be a little blunt and direct, but it kind of feels like I'm being vindicated here because I've been sounding the alarm for a certain municipality for about 5.5 to 6 years. And by God, it's happening. I can't make this up. I mean, I knew this was going on. I knew this. And just hearing Stuart Jones sit here and say this, wow, it's a breath of fresh air to actually have a county administrator, number one, that understands government and knows what the hell's going on. But I want something to be very clear here before we get back to the video. These people right here that's on current council, they didn't have anything to do with this. They were able to get a administrator in that was able to identify that we had a problem and come up with solutions to fix the problem. So I don't want to see anywhere on social media where it's Tommy James, John Elliott, we've got Matt Durham, the chairman, Glenn Hart's not there, but we've got Don Mize. I don't want to see anybody, well, we got to get rid of the county council. These are the people that you want right now to guide us through this situation. And we want that county administrator. Finally, we got some truths. You know, we had conversations about all of this before. We have talked about this all the time, even in a previous show that I used to do with the other three. We talked about this budgeting thing, that something didn't seem right or something just wasn't adding up. And again, when you have somebody that has experience of how, number one, was on county council, and Stuart Jones was in Lawrence, he was on county council. When you have this, and again, I don't care any kind of his affiliation. I just care about doing the right job, fixing the issues, and solving the problems. And let me tell you, today is a huge moment in Oconee history. Mike, I absolutely agree with you. Oh, poopy. I absolutely agree. And you're right. It goes back to the good old boys. It's finally people strong enough to stand up. That's my point right here I'm making, that finally, I don't care what anybody's done. I don't care what you think. For a tax-paying citizen here in Oconee County, right now, you should be absolutely elated that we now have the answers of what's been going on. And you should be thanking this council. And I'll tell you why you should be thanking this council, because guess what? Regardless of all of this, they're not talking about a tax increase. But I can tell you that certain other people and certain other municipalities might be looking for a tax increase. You got to balance the budget somehow. Let's continue now. Again, this is getting good. I feel vindicated a little bit because I knew that there was issues. I have tried to tell people this was going on. And I do. I have a little sense of vindication. This is one of the reasons why 4 years ago that I wanted to run for county council. This is exactly. I recognized that growth was a big issue. I recognized the infrastructure. But you know what? God works in mysterious ways. And maybe this was why I was led to do this show. And, you know, it would not have been for Ronnie O'Kelly if he had not have told that I was the pot stirrer. I wasn't going to come back and do a talk show for Oconee County. I had just decided to do the music and run my radio station and be on my happy way. But I realized that people out here in the community is not getting the full information. I'm going to give you the information. Here's the truth. And the truth is, the truth shall set you free. And tonight, the truth set me free because I have been preaching and talking about this until I was blue in the face. And finally, it's here. Let's get back to it and listen. There's more.
in the books, you're passing a fake budget on to the public, to county council. It's fraudulent at the least, right? I mean, because you're representing numbers that aren't true. And the governing body's taking action off numbers that's intentionally not true.
I don't understand why they did what they did. And then secondly, being an administrator myself and being somebody who served in local government, I don't understand what the end game is for that. Because it's hiding all these numbers. It's hiding the true deficit. And you can't do anything about it because you don't know where it's coming. And that's why we were hit with it like we were. Let's go to another one here. And this is another major one. I want to highlight, now our CKH audit that the audit group did, they brought this one up. This situation with adding the $2 million number into wages and compensation, both in the revenue and the expenditure. Well, if you look at that, what actually the effect of that was, and what was done, and I think it was another example of cooking the books, because they put $2 million as a revenue for something that's not a revenue in order to pump the revenue up, in order to pump up that number. It's an expenditure for sure, but in order to cancel that out and to present it to council as there's no real effect that this is having, that's what they did.
I love the comment, cooking the books. I love that comment there, cooking the books. And we heard the word fraud. And we don't know what the end game was. This is one of the reasons why there needed to be a forensic audit. Remember tonight, cooking the books, fraud, propping up an expenditure that really didn't even exist. Again, nobody knows what the end game is. And again, Stuart Jones he's told it like it is tonight.
Okay. All right. So there was a whole, and I'll just, real quick before I go on past this, I want to talk about one more example. In the airport, for example. So it appears and that's just another line. There's many of these in our budget, but it appears like what they did, and me learning the process and everything, that they lowered the expenditure of, take jet fuel, for example. They lowered it to a point where in order to make the revenue that's projected, you would have to purchase more jet fuel, if that makes sense. Okay? The problem with that is, once again, they pumped up the revenue and they lowered the expenditure. So therefore, council's looking at this and saying, we have a balanced budget. But in order to purchase that much jet fuel, you're going to have to spend more money. If that makes sense to everybody. So that was one.
So it's showing the revenue for jet fuel sales, but not showing the expenditure that it takes to buy that jet fuel for the sales.
Exactly.
I may be wrong on this, and maybe somebody's going to have to help me out here, but it seems like 2 or 3 years ago, hold on just a second. It seems like that there was somebody in 2022 brought something up of the attention. Somebody from the Oconee County Conservative is going to have to help me here, but I think Mickey Haney brought something up about the airport, about the fuel. Come on, somebody. I'm going to have to reach out to Matt Durham, but it seems like Mickey Haney realized that something was going on with that budgeting. It was either 2022 or 23 or something, but it seems like he made a long dissertation about this in front of the county council at the time, that there was an issue. Somebody brought it to somebody's attention. I'm going to have to go back and research that, but it seems like this was raised back a few years ago, exactly what Stuart Jones is saying. I just got notification that I was correct, but I was thinking it was around 2022 that Mickey Haney went before county council and had these facts and figures, but he was laughed out. He was told pretty much he didn't know what he was talking about. Mickey Haney, I'm sorry. You did know what you were talking about. I apologize, because I was one thought you were crazy, and you're not crazy. You're telling the truth. I just remember that. I do. I'm sorry. I immediately apologize, because it sounds like you all had it figured out before I finally got it figured out. But anyway, I just remembered that. Thanks for the comment. I appreciate clarifying that.
Yes, sir. Those are three, I believe those are three of the most glaring examples. But all of that, we're talking major numbers, millions and millions of dollars that throw this budget off. So I'm bringing all that up though, because a lot of what we're doing is going through and correcting this, going back and working to get actual numbers. Now, moving in to our FY 2027 budget, and one other thing I want to just address real quick before I forget on, where we are and how we got here. Some of the corrective action that we've already taken and that council's already taken. Of course, when a lot of these things came to light initially, there were conveyances, funds were moved over, and that kind of thing from these discretionary accounts. In 2026, we will have moved a total, I believe it was around $18 million from discretionary accounts to our general fund account. Those funds, if you look back though, portion of those funds, years ago, council focused on capital improvements and special revenue, and we moved those funds over, which would be a good use of funds. I mean, you can designate those. So what we've done so far, and where we are right this second, we're actually in a surplus of around $4 million. The main goal with that, and I'll just say this publicly, the county has roughly 19 months at this point right now to get our bond rating, for our bond rating purposes, to get to stay in the positive with our bond rating. And so that's why we have, that's why we got to act as quickly as possible in a lot of these decisions we're making here today. Council made the decisions with the budget amendment, and everything we've done with that to get us on the right footing. So we're starting with a $4 million surplus in the general fund unassigned right now. And that's great. We've also addressed the health insurance, which I'm going to talk about that more in a minute, but that's going to produce, a savings long-term for us. So let's talk a little bit about, and Jennifer, when I'm pointing this thing, I'm pointing over, that's it, okay, there we go. All right, so projected revenues right now, we're seeing, about normal. I've got some parts to our budget that we're working in right now and everything. If anybody on council has questions as we're going along, please stop me here. We, of course, are readdressing, the fees and all those kind of things in our budget book. So all that council will have all that very soon as well to look through. There's a number of those that are changing. Let's go. See, there we go. All right, expenditures. As I said earlier, our biggest expenditure in the county is public safety. 45% is public safety. You can look through. This is just basically an assessment of where we are right now and projecting for FY 27 where we're going to be.
And again, if you're just tuning in or just join us, the big portion of this is outstanding. And if you're just tuning in late, I urge you to go back and watch this step by step, because there are some things that are said tonight that will open your eyes. I knew that there was an issue. I just didn't know the depths of it. And again, Stuart Jones is a very smart individual. As far as county council, as an administrator, I am completely impressed to come in And, there's a lot of other of us that started talking about that we thought something was wrong with this budget or the budgetings in the past. Even in 2022, something didn't seem right. But again, if you're elected, you have to have trust in your administration team. And at one time, we thought, or they thought, I'm sure, that everything was copacetic. You can only do with the numbers you're given. And this is what's happened here. But again, some of this started back in 2014. 2014, look it up. Who was the administrator? And then it was a pattern. And then the pattern changed. 2019, we have the other administrator. And then until she was fired. And again, I'm not even sure if she had not been fired, we would have gone another year and we wouldn't have noticed any of this. This is a kind of government. When we talk about transparency and we want to see, this is the kind of transparency we want right here. And I want to make mention that no one on the current county council really had anything to do with anything from 2014. They can only do what they were given. Now, I am 100% sure that going forward, that there will be checks and balances, and I believe Stewart's already mentioned that, getting to talk to the department heads. There is one other thing in there about, I like what he's saying, is that the department heads come before council if they need something far as big ticket items. I think that's a great opportunity for transparency so that we know what's being spent in the county. If you got a comment, jump on the chat line real quick. Again, if you're just tuning in, I urge you to go back and watch this video. It's about the first 20 minutes. You can skip to about the 10-minute mark is when it really gets good. And again, you heard Matt Durham, fraud. Is it fraud? The chances probably are something's wrong. Again, why the answer to why this was done we don't know yet. Hopefully this audit will determine where and when. Maybe this forensic audit's going to determine more than we even know. But I feel vindicated tonight because these are some of the same things that I have been saying. And now, heads up, Seneca. Heads up. I'm telling you, it ain't all right in Bobcat land. It stinks. And you better be careful because I'm telling you, there's a whole lot of things going on. And I just want everybody to be prepared because I'm telling you, it's like Forrest Gump said, I may not be a smart man, but I know stupidity when I see it. And I see a lot of stupidity. I see a lot of things that hasn't come before the public. I mean, again, there's things going on in Westminster right now that makes no sense to me. There's a lot of folks over there really upset in Westminster right now, just with what's going on and this streetscape project and no business. And matter of fact, the population of just the city of Westminster is going down. They've lost people. People are just not boycotting, they're leaving. The two areas that have the most rise in population right now is Walhalla and Seneca. And you've got development on top of that. You've got all of this coming. Again, tomorrow night is the regular county council meeting. And on the agenda is the third reading of the moratorium. Again, thank God this is coming. We've needed a moratorium to put the brakes and now let the planning commission have some breathing room and come back and develop some standards for this massive development. Not that you can't stop it. I don't want to stop it, but I do want to control it. It needs controlled. We need to have some controls in the county. There is no way under God's green earth that we can handle 5,000 homes, much less 600 homes. And I've told y'all that one of the reasons last week on this show, and I shared it with you, and I'll share it with you again. It's there. This is what they wanted to do this is next to Tanglewood subdivision, Kiwi School Road. This is one of the reasons why Scott Mulder went before the school district of Oconee County asking for them to allow Seneca to annex the old Hamilton Career Center, the Bounty Education Campus. They've had conversations with everybody down that road, even Collins Children's Home, about annexing and then moving it up Old Walhalla Highway and getting the 600 lot development Del Weld at Seneca. That's a group that does communities. And this is where we're at right here. I mean, take a look. Tanglewood, you've got 28 and you got Walhalla Highway, and you've got the cut across right there next to close to Sweet Treats. But yeah, this is pending city annexation. This is the stuff right here that makes no sense. Until we have a grasp on what's going on, we have another issue brewing. And I think within the next 1 to 2 years, it's happening right over here at Return Community right now. I said this on the show that I had put together. I'm not worried at this point right now. We've got to get the house in order. And getting the house in order means right now we actually have a county administrator that by all means has just totally done he's done a great job so far. I don't care what his political affiliation is. He has come in, he's gotten answers. He's put us on a course so that it looks like we're not going to have a tax increase. And every citizen should just jump up and say, hallelujah. But what we don't need, and I'm going to be a bad boy, we don't need a candidate going up and saying, you must raise taxes. I will take what Stuart Jones has to say versus a candidate. I'll take the current council, what they say, versus a candidate. But that comment of going up there about the balanced budget stuff, you must raise taxes, that's a turnoff for me. I don't want to hear it. And again, for our Democratic friends, you better have a message, because right now you're all over the road. And maybe that's good for certain people. But when you get in the newspaper, and this is the council candidate for running for District 1, who's a Democrat. Was it J.B. Burkbacher? Whatever his last name is, I apologize there. When you get in there in the newspaper and you say, go blue, all blue, okay, wait a minute here. Hold up just a second. Wait just a second. There's more about turning this into a Democratic. What's your platform? Is it you just want to turn it into Democrats to turn blue? What do you plan on doing? If you win, what are you going to do? Are you going to get up there and you've got to govern with people? It's just like, for example, Don has to govern for people with the constituents, whether they're Republican or Democrat. Everybody does. You represent everybody, but that's your first statement in the newspaper that you're running, but it's go blue. And then, of course, Mr. Sheehan, you must raise taxes. That's a turnoff. Well, the only other ones that I see there is Mr. Clay. And at least he talks about some of these things. He at least got on the paper and talked about the other things that were going on. So, hey, I give him credit there. And then, again, when it turns right down to it, you got Landon Lyle. I think he's a gunfire. I think he's going to be great, but I don't think he's ready. He's not ready. He's still in college. He just graduated high school. You cannot know everything that's going on in Oconee County at this age. I didn't. I had to research and learn and study. But do I think he's going to be something? Absolutely. I think he's going to be a fire whip. But right now, given what's happening in this county, I think we need to stay with Don Mize. That's the reason I didn't run. I had no reason to run because Don Mize done everything I said he would, I said that I wanted to do. He's done everything. He's represented District 3 well. But you the people decide that. And that's one of the great things about this country. If you don't go vote, I don't want to hear you bitch and complain. But if you do vote, you have a say in this process. But right now, it is apparent to me that we are in good hands with who we've got in Oconee County. I'm totally, if you'd asked me that in 2022, I would have said you were absolutely crazy. But now I think we're fine because we're getting the answers, and those answers are so important. But again, you got an election coming up January 9th. You got early voting. There is no rhyme or reason. You get out there and you vote for who you think is going to be the best candidate. But I can tell you right now, I'm satisfied and happy with what we're going. And again, finding out this information, getting this moratorium. And again, I believe that there's a whole lot more coming. I think we're about to find out more. And again, we've already sounded the alarm. This meeting today was probably one of the, if I had to say, in the history of Oconee, and again, I have followed Oconee County politics many years. I can tell you about Norman Crane. I can tell you about Julius Earle. I can tell you about the legendaries, the first council in 1975. And Oconee County has definitely come a long way. But I can tell you is, as far as historical meeting today, this meeting today was probably one of the biggest in Oconee County history. Is that I knew something was going on, and just having the county administrator say, hey, look, that there is a problem, and that's what's going on, is, to me, I'm very satisfied. Very, very satisfied. So there you go. Well, folks, we come to the end of the show tonight. I know it's a lot of information to take. Those are my opinions. This is how I feel. Someone that was born and raised here, been here for 50 years of my life. I dedicate a lot of time to community. I go out and do a lot of broadcasts. I hear from a whole lot of other great folks around the community. And this past Saturday, I was at the Farm Center doing a live broadcast on the radio station. And I had many walk up to tell me that they really appreciated the pot stir. They thought that they were getting the information, and they were getting the accurate information. And I will do my best. I will tell you like it is. Again, most of the times I methodically come to you and tell you things, but I'm the seeker of the truth, and the folks need to know the truth. And again, just thank you so much. And again, I give kudos to Ronnie O'Kelly, the mayor of Seneca. Had he not have called me a pot stirrer, we wouldn't be here right now. So I have to thank Ronnie for that. But again, it seems like the county's got the ship controlled, but we've got an issue brewing the municipalities. We're going to talk about budgeting after the 4th of July, the Memorial Day. We're going to discuss Seneca's budget. Oh boy. And we're already, I think that Cecilia Myers, the Walhalla administrator, has already talked about some rate increases coming up. Brace yourself, folks. If we don't get a tax increase in Seneca, we'll be damn lucky, because I'm telling you, I just don't see it. I see it. It's coming, but we hope that it's not. But at least right now, we have the general sense that there won't be a raise at the county level, which is a very good thing. Want to close real quickly with some information coming up this Saturday at 11 o'clock. The Oconee County Conservatives are going to be having their Memorial Day barbecue. That will be up there at the American Legion on Kenneth Street in Walhalla. It starts about 11 o'clock, $15, all the good stuff. Some of the candidates will be there. If you want to get your questions answered, that's coming up 11 until, I think, in the afternoon till 2 o'clock. And that's going to be at the American Legion. So make sure that you check that out coming up Saturday. The other thing coming up, too, is on the 30th, the Oconee Republican men and women will be having a candidate get-together and a little lunch at South Cove County Park. They will be doing that. I think it's on the 30th. I'll have to pull the calendar up here. That's UMA, by the way. Yeah, it's going to be the 30th at the end of the month here. Coming up right after Memorial Day. They'll have that. There's more information available on the Republican men or women's website. You can find out that. And it'll be another opportunity for you to get to meet the candidates. Of course, it's coming real soon, real quickly. We've got early voting going to be starting just up and around the corner. And election time will be here, of course, As we mentioned, in the Republican Party, Don Mize versus Landon Lyle. In the Democrats, we've got Lee Sheehan and Devin Clay. And that will be we'll go on to face the winners of those respective primaries coming up in November. And it sounds like Uma, she's wanting to run for council. Maybe she needs to get on the Seneca City Council. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Let me go ahead and close the show out. Next Monday, there will not be a pot stir, but we will come back June the 1st as we will pause from the noise, the politics, the arguments, and the everyday battles of dogs barking in your home studio. And we need to remember what this weekend is really about. It's not just the unofficial start of summer. It's not just cookouts, lake days, beach music, or long weekends. Memorial Day is about men, women who left home wearing the uniform of the United States, and they never came back. There were sons and daughters, husbands and wives, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, friends, and neighbors. Some came from big cities. Some came from small towns just like ours. They had plans, dreams, and futures. And they gave all that so the rest of us could live free and we could sit here and do a show. Remember, in Oconee County and across this country, we owe them more than a passing thought. We owe them remembrance. We owe them respect. And we owe them a country worth of their sacrifice. So as we enjoy this weekend, let's take a moment to bow our heads and say their names when we can. And remember the price that was paid. From the Pot Stir with Jazzy Jeff, may we never forget that freedom was never free. Have a great week, everybody, and a great weekend.
From the back roads and courthouse steps of small town South Carolina to the late night studio where the mics never sleep. This is where decisions, rumors, and real stories collide. You're tuned in to the Pot Stirrer Podcast with Jazzy Jeff. Real talk, local issues, no fluff.